To the northwest of Pakistan, along the frontier with Afghanistan, are a series of mountain ranges stretching for over 400 miles. In the 19th century, the Northwest Frontier, as it was called, was the scene of over 50 campaigns mounted by the British and Imperial Indian Army against the Pathans, those warlike hill tribesmen who lived throughout the region. In 1868, one such campaign was mounted in an area of the Northwest Frontier called the Black Mountains, a 30-mile range of mountains to the east of the River Indus. It was a punitive campaign mounted from Ogi, a small village in the Agraur Valley, and it was to be retribution for an attack by 500 Pathans on a new police station and for burning down villages in the valley. On the 3rd of October, 1868, some 9,500 soldiers advanced in 2 brigades up the pine-covered spurs and slopes of the Black Mountain to occupy a great ridge called Manakadana. Ranged against them were 3,000 to 4,000 mountain warriors of the Yusufzai tribe. The grassy slopes above the tree level make an ideal location to mount the campaign along the top of the mountain range. In the 1st Brigade, commanded by Brigadier General Bright, were 29 officers and 710 men of his own regiment, the 19th of Foot, now called the Green Howards, who had been road building at Abbottabad before the campaign, and for many of these soldiers from Yorkshire and Teesside it was the first time that they'd fought in a campaign against the resourceful Pathan warriors.
Manakadana is the shoulder of the Kungali fir. That makes sense. Rising point in the center from which the ground descends to a small plateau and then dips again at a steep angle.
130 years later, men from the same regiment, the Green Howards, returned to the battlefields of the Black Mountain to carry out a historical survey. Using official 19th century reports, old diaries and letters, they'd worked out where each unit was positioned during the advance against the Pathans.
Roughly what happened. So really the main engagement, I think, is over there, on that valley there. So we might well have a look at that, I think.
Just a little pot shot.
Yeah. I don't know what there will be, but we can have a look at it.
I mean, this sounds like a bloody huge assembly area,
isn't it?
Bloody huge
You had the whole brigade all the way around here.
So I think
whole brigade.
I mean, random, maybe go over there, have a quick
scan and see if we can see something.
And then
Guided by the local knowledge of the tribesmen, the expedition members moved to the former defensive positions to locate relics left behind during the 1868 campaign. The area was first gridded with white cord before the metal detectors were methodically scanned over the area, and it wasn't long before they detected something metal. These objects were extracted, carefully recorded, measured, and then photographed in the field close to the location where they were found. The tribesmen who assisted them all lived at a height above 8,000 feet in mud-topped dwellings. They brought old Jezail muzzle-loading flintlocks from their huts for the members of the expedition to see. These were the type of weapons which their forefathers had used to cause casualties against the British at ranges of up to 800 paces. However, they were very slow to reload. The British and Imperial Indian troops were issued with the new Snyder rifle, which could fire up to 5 to 6 rounds a minute from the prone position with great accuracy. The tribesmen, using the flintlocks, had to pour in powder, then push in wadding, before dropping the metal ball shot into the muzzle. The weapons were then primed and fired by a spark from a flint. And although very accurate with the long muzzle, they were lucky to fire off 2 shots a minute. After a rough sweep of Manakadana, the expedition moved north for a couple of miles to the next battlefield at Chittabat. Old photographs were taken during the 1868 campaign, and records were used to find the exact location of the 1st and 5th Gurkhas, the 20th Punjab Native Infantry, who were in the vanguard of the advance, and the guns of the Hazara and Peshawar mountain batteries, and the 19th of Foot, the Green Howards, who supported them. From the peak of Chittapet they could see the mighty Indus River flowing majestically south through the mountains of the northwest frontier. They could also see the flat-topped dwellings of the various clans of the Yusufzai tribe nestling on the steep slopes leading down to the Indus. And it was not difficult to find the defensive positions erected by the Pathans on the forward slope, and it was these areas that had been the target for the British guns.
The Hazara battery and the Peshawar battery having brought all their guns up by mules, this area must have been one great big eruption, I would imagine, of explosives. And there should be, obviously, if we just do a vague look, should be a lot of shrapnel here, I would imagine, from these shells.
Once the locations had been found on the ground, sometimes amongst the trees on the rear slopes of Chittapet, each area was carefully gridded and metal detector used to scan for metal objects. Soon the team were unearthing metal nails, ball shot, bullet heads, shrapnel, buttons, hobnails, a silver crown badge of rank, and what looked like an arrowhead. The local people told us that nearly 4,000 Pathans responded to the mullah's call, with jezail, swords, daggers and leather shields. They also talked of the final battles on and around Machai Peak, 1.5 miles to the north of Chittapet. So, the expedition party moved on from Chittapet towards the Donda Hill, and then on to the main campsite of the expedition, pitched at a height of 9,000 feet at Muchai Giva. Just beyond it was the highest point on the Black Mountains, called Machai Peak. Just beyond the campsite was a stretch of pasture called Machai Giva, and it was here that the penultimate engagement between the Pathans and the British and Imperial Indians army took place, with attack and counter-attack. So it was decided to make this the main archaeological site.
And the Pakistani team, we've got four, and the local four, and local team.
No, just 10 local.
The Pathans had built a series of stone sangars, each occupied by 30 armed tribesmen, from where they fired against the leading British troops skirmishing down Donda Hill opposite them. One of these sangars on Machai Giva was surveyed and measured in great detail, photographed and swept by the metal detectors for relics. But by now the historical survey had attracted many visitors. Local Yusufzai tribesmen and Gujar nomads, armed with Kalashnikovs and .303 rifles, had come to find out what was going on. They were surprised to see officers and soldiers from the British and Pakistan army, whose forebears had fought alongside each other in the 1868 campaign, working together again on a historical survey. Anyway, it was an excuse for a good group photograph.